Welcome, everybody. I'll just take a second here to share my screen and we can get started here. Okay, perfect. So I'll just start my slideshow here. Just like to take a second as I'm starting this up to thank everybody for showing up today. So thanks for joining me again today for my presentation on Slido. I'm excited to go through the 4 E's of Slido and talk about how it can enhance presentation through interaction. So this is part of my PIDP program, 3240 Media Enhanced Learning, assignment number 2. You can see at the bottom here, I have a Creative Commons. This license enables users to distribute, remix, adapt, and build upon any material for non-commercial purposes, and only as long as credit is given to the creator. Okay. Also like to start with a land acknowledgement. So I'm grateful for the opportunity to not only live, but also work out of and learn on the land of the Treaty 8 First Nations. I personally have committed myself to the principles of respect, understanding, and reconciliation when it comes to the Treaty 8 First Nations and their people. A quick outline for what you can expect throughout the presentation today. So first things first, we'll get into quick introductions so that we can get an understanding of who you are and if you've ever used Slido before. Next, we'll jump into a Slido overview. So I have 2 things planned on that Slido overview. I have a video that we'll watch, it's about a 1.5-minute video, and then I'll get into Slido itself. We'll go online and I'll walk you through a couple things that Slido has to offer. Once that is all done and you have an understanding of how Slido works, we'll get into the 4 E's of Slido. And at the end, we'll wrap it all up with the references that I used for the material of putting this presentation together. So introductions, quick introduction of myself. My name's Jared Roblin. I'm an electrician at BC Hydro. I've worked here for about 15 years, and I've taken this opportunity to work through the PIDP program to work on my ability as an instructor for a lot of the safety training that I do at BC Hydro. And as far as Slido goes, I did not have any experience on Slido before I started this presentation, so it was a bit of a learning curve to understand what Slido has to offer. This is where I would ask the participants to introduce themselves, but since we don't have any participants today, I will carry on. So an overview of Slido. So first things first here, we'll watch that short YouTube video that I talked about to get an understanding of what Slido has to offer.
Welcome to Slido. Slido is an online polling and Q&A platform that helps you create a conversation with your audience, whether that is in person, remote, or in a combination of both. Imagine you're in a team meeting and you have no idea what your colleagues are thinking or how they are feeling. Or perhaps you yourself are remotely joining an all-hands meeting and you want to ask a question, but you're too shy to put it into the chat. With Slido, you can simply avoid all of those awkward moments and create a meaningful two-way conversation. So, how does it work? As a participant, you can go to slido.com, enter in the event code given by the organizer, or simply scan the QR code on the screen. Then simply type in your question anonymously or using your name. With the questions and help the organizer see what the most burning topics are. You can vote in polls, and that way express your opinions and make your voice heard. Now let's have a look at the speaker's point of view. Polls can help you engage your audience or gather their opinions. There are several types to choose from. Just pick the one that suits you the most. My favorite is the word cloud. Just look at this magic. As for the setup, connect your computer to a projector in the room, or if you're on a video call, share your screen with Slido. You can also integrate Slido into your PowerPoint or Google Slides presentation and into your video calls in WebEx or Microsoft Teams. And later, you can analyze and export all the data you've collected. It's as simple as that, and you can try it right now. Just sign up for your free account and create your first Slido event in minutes. If you want to learn more or get inspired, just check out our website or blog at slido.com.
Perfect. So that is a short video on Slido and what it has to offer. So we'll go back to the PowerPoint here. At this point in time, this is where I would ask the participants in the course if they had any questions on the video or anything that they would like to dive in deeper as I pull up Slido to go over what the actual website has to offer and how you can work your way through it. So first things first, like anything, you need to create an account with your login information. Once you've created that account, you'll be able to log in and you'll get access to this homepage here for Slido once it finally loads. So you can see here, since I have an account, I have my slides. So 2 slides that I was playing with while I was creating this presentation. And you also have a team button here too, that if you had other team members, you could have access to their Slidos, and you could change if you had editing rights to their Slidos. Analytics. So once you're done your presentation, your course, whatever it may be that you're using Slido for, it'll actually keep analytics for you. And depending on how you set up your polls, you'll get feedback on engagement, feedback on the questions. So over time, you can use these analytics to figure out what polls are working, what material from Slido that you're using is worthwhile to keep building upon, or material that you might want to fix. So a quick example of putting a Slido together, it's as simple as this Create Slido button. You can see there's a start date and an end date. One of the differences between the free version compared to the version that you pay for is, I believe the free version, you can only have a Slido open for a year, I think it is. And then in the pay version, it doesn't have an end. You can have a Slido open for many years. So for this one, we can just name it PIDP, create Slido. You can see that that new one is right here. I will select it and open up that Slido. And from right here, we would have a share option. This is where students could scan the QR code. You could copy the link, send it out in an email prior to the course so that people would have access to it as soon as they arrived. And having access to the course or the Slido is when they would have access to the Q&A section. So from this Q&A section, they can ask questions. As they ask questions, like we saw in the video, there will be a like button that questions that other people like will get put at the top. So as long as you're selected at the popular section here, the most liked question will stay at the top. So that's a good way of ensuring that as an instructor, you're focusing on the questions that the students or the participants are finding very important. Okay. Going back or adding another interaction, you press this add button, and this is where you can add that word cloud like we talked about in the video, or open text or ranking, right? So all these are focused around polls, and you can either have the students ask the question, or you could ask a question as the instructor and have the students answer in either a open-ended format as open text, or in a ranking format too, to see what the most liked answer is. So that's a general overview of Slido. Again, this is where I would ask participants in the course here if they wanted to go over anything in more depth. And since that's not the case, we'll jump back to the PowerPoint presentation. So getting into the 4 E's of Slido. So first things first, I have Excite. So how does Slido excite? So I came up with 3 headings here. It has the interactive features. So it really brings that interactive capability to presentation through a course because of the live polls, the quizzes, and those Q&As that can be used, right? But from those quizzes and polls, we can get that instant feedback, and it uses gamification. So you can ask questions to have polls where students can get that competitive edge into your presentation. So I thought Slido does a good job with Excite. I think promoting that gamification and those interactive features, I gave it an A because of that. Now, one thing I would like to touch on Excite is one of my references. You'll see that research has shown that interactive quizzes and polls can increase student motivation and excitement in learning. So using those interactive tools can create a fun, engaging environment that boosts enthusiasm and helps students stay focused. And that is referenced through my references if you want to look that up and dive deeper into it. As far as education, we found that real-time polling and quizzes, right? You can get that instant feedback on if your students are being educated with Slido. It has that Q&A feature and has those live results and live insights. So as far as the instructor, we can use those live results with those Q&A feedback answers that we get from our students to adjust and focus on the things that our students need. Again, similar to a lot of these online gamification tools, it's focusing on that lower level Bloom's taxonomy, more on that understanding and remembering. So I gave it a B- here. With the opportunity to use it to ensure we have that lower level Bloom's taxonomy, and then we can build upon it with different instructional strategies through presentation. Engages, I gave it an A- here. I thought that it does a very good job, not only in exciting, but also engaging. We have active participation, so it ensures that students are working together, right? We had that section where they like the answers, so it ensures that we're also promoting that collaboration, that the most desired answer is, or question is going to be answered. It encourages conversation. And if some students might be on the shyer side, like we talked in that video, they can answer anonymously as well if they don't want to put their name to that. So even the more introverted students can stay engaged because of that anonymous option. As far as evaluate, I gave it a B and came up with these 3 headings. We have that instant feedback and surveys. So you get those results back right away as an instructor, and the audience understanding the assessment. So it's, again, lower level Bloom's taxonomy, that understanding and remembering when we talk about evaluation. The analytics section is nice for the instructor because after the course is done, you can get those analytics sent back to you and see what worked well and what didn't work well, and constantly make improvements to your presentation, to your curriculum as an instructor. References that I used to build this presentation and while working with Slido are listed here. You'll be able to find this in the forum after I update this presentation. And next thing I'd like to do is just ask general questions to the participants that don't exist here today. This is where we would go through the questions and address any concerns that anyone might have. So since that's not the case, just to wrap it up, I'd first like to say thank you to everybody for showing up today. Thank you for coming and watching my presentation on Slido. I hope you enjoyed Slido, and I hope you can relate to some of the topics I said earlier today and talked about how we can use Slido to promote that engagement and keep our students excited and avoid that routine death by PowerPoint by mixing in gamification. Okay, thank you, everybody.